Alright, so in this stage you'll see there's a cone and a VTAC barricade. Shooter will engage the steel target, which you can barely see downrange because of the sunlight. With one hit, they will then run over to the VTAC barricade, and from the VTAC barricade, they will engage the steel target from the first 3 holes. So you'll be target, target, target. After they do that, they will run back over to the cone, engage the steel with one hit, back to the VTAC barricade. Next 3 holes, target, target, target. They will then run back to the cone, engage the steel with one hit, come back to the VTAC barricade, target, target, target. Doesn't look like a lot, but it's deceptively difficult.
Shooter, are you ready? Yeah. Stand by. Hit. Hit. Hit.
Oh yeah, he has this one, yeah.
Hit. So he's probably gonna hit. Fucking armor. Armor. Hit.
I just go for the red dot.
Like an axis, because that's easy enough too.
Hit. 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 Good job.
Yes.
Hit.
And it's 308.
Hit.
Yeah.
Hit. Hit.
Nice.
Make sure you keep your finger out of the trigger.
There's always one, huh?
Hit.
Only when using a wooden rod really popped it.
Gotcha.
Oh, using a red dot would have been easy.
Hit.
If you roll it right,
Left hole first.
You see what I had to do to actually see it? Like, the gun wasn't touching me at all.
just like,
Hit.
Russ, I did the same thing.
Hit.
Thankfully,
Nice run. Good job. All right. Okay, so this is the stage where you're running back and forth with the VTAC barricade. Quite honestly, a daunting task with a 308, typically speaking. I like this thing. You did really, really well.
and you know what? Weird position, unorthodox shooting positions like that with a G3 ought to be the worst possible thing because of its like the pull and its recoil.
No, I think we've actually proven that out in the past in other matches where a traditional G3 or even my set-me thingy in a situation like that is pretty ugly. It just sucks. It does. And you also have kind of a, you know, standard offset optic height now with this lower, with this higher cone, which I think would have been a huge advantage when you're trying to shoot from those positions.
You know, honestly, in this, I was wondering what sort of offset I'd have to deal with.
Yes.
And I did none. Yeah, I put the dot in the middle of the target and I pulled the trigger and I think I had one shot that wasn't a hit.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome because, you know, actually, typically speaking, though, the best action to do in a situation like this, when you're canting the gun to the side and therefore you're aiming at the target, let's say the gun is like this. What you want to do is aim at the right side of the target.
Correct.
If the gun's like this, you want to aim at the left side of the target. Because remember, the same zeroing applies as it would in any situation. However, you probably have a 50-yard zero.
And therefore,
yeah.
this is a almost 50-yard target. And therefore, you really don't have to hold off because even if the gun spins 90 degrees, it's still a 50-yard zero.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what you were dealing with.
Yeah. So
What about the recoil mitigation? 308's normally, I mean, G3 is pretty mean usually. That Spuhr stock is making the difference?
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, especially in those weird positions. And something else that maybe isn't commonly thought of as a strength of the G3.
Yes.
This thing is small.
Oh, that's a good point. The
This
handguard.
was easy to put through those barricade ports.
Does it have a flat at the bottom?
It's flat enough. Flat.
And it can take, essentially, you can mount things to it.
Oh yeah.
You can mount pick rail on it, you just don't have it on it right now.
Because I don't have anything that I wanted to put on there.
There's a lot to be said for a svelte rail like that, especially when there's not a lot of exposed barrel. Like this, I have quite a bit of space between here and here
Right.
to not worry about. But that's not a lot going on there.
The other thing, you know, there are people who may say this because I would probably be one of them. Why put on this stupid extra, first off, expensive, and why have all this modularity out here if you're not actually going to mount anything?
Sure.
The answer is actually, first off, this cools the barrel faster than a standard handguard because it is completely open to air.
It really does induce air cooling.
And secondly, this is actually lighter than a standard G3 handguard.
The polymer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not by a lot, but just by a little bit.
That's kind of funny because I guess that makes sense when you consider the strength of the material allows you to cut all of these air holes
Right.
and lightning cuts. And by the time you're done with how much material is left, yeah. I can
And
see
you know
that.
what? You don't need a metal heat shield inside it.
No,
Because-
yeah. And there's no gas tube or gas piston to deal with.
Right.
That's
One
another-
other thing about the G3 is I can grab it like this.
Right.
This isn't a gas tube.
Nope.
Some people might occasionally think it's a gas
It's
tube.
truly just a caulking tube.
But it's not. It's just an empty tube for the charging handle.
Yep.
So
That's
I really
cool.
like this thing.
So, after you
You,
saw
yes.
the first stage of the day for me was a complete disaster. Everything failed. I had multiple malfunctions, double feeds, short strokes, etc.
Yep.
And timed out as a result. And then realized, okay,
You ought to
so-
have a real Russian AK.
well, right. Well, I mean, this is what happens when you're trying to toy with a system. You have to prove it out, and the only way to prove it out is to prove it out on the clock. Because I tested that gun off the clock, no problem.
Yeah, I know. I was actually there for some of it.
You were. And so I couldn't tell if it was the PUF gun 60 round quad stack or the 30. Then when we get over there, I switched from the 60 to the 30 and still had the same problem. All right, so that's not a problem with the KNS gas system. It's that I had it under adjusted for this environment.
Right.
So I went over to the side, cleared the gun, went to our safety area and added a bunch of clicks, test fired it, meaning I essentially opened the gas system more. To induce more gas into the system. And then I test fired it, and it had more recoil, a little more recoil, but it was looking at the ejection pattern. Like, all right, it's ejecting about there. So I went and clicked a few more on, and it's ejecting about there. And then I added 2 more, because I just didn't want to deal with it again. And then so I tempted fate. On this stage, I loaded the puff gun 60 round quad stack to the full 60, and had no issues.
Nice.
The gun ran fine. I had no malfunctions, no short strokes, no double feeds. So when you are playing with a system that's been proven like the AK and doing things like adding an adjustable gas system, it takes time to figure that out. And the reason military guns, at least highly reliable ones, piston, I should say, military guns are overgassed, when you think of the G43 or the AK, is because they want them to be reliable in all conditions.
Right.
And they don't care about the recoil situation because this is a combat situation and the gun has to work.
Yep.
Now, inversely, if you overgas an AR, you've got a different problem, but that's a semi-DI system. That one's got to be tuned a little more carefully.
Now, I do want to go on the record, just put this on the record now. I believe that puff gun mag is just waiting, lurking, and it will work perfectly for you until you go to something like Hard as Hell, and then it will just completely explode and destroy us.
Well, here's my plan. So I think we've got the gas system figured out. Gun's reliable. It still has a lot of recoil mitigation in terms of being not overgassed, and it seems to be about right. And it felt really good on this stage, and the puff gun mag worked really well. I'm going to continue to use that mag from here on out as my primary mag, the only mag that goes in this gun for the stage until Hard as Hell. And if it does not fail between now and then, and I'm going to be beta testing it, not just at this match, but some other environments as well on the clock, and if I continue to have success with it, then the rituals that I performed, which I did a few, may have worked, and I will continue to use it, and hopefully, at Hard as Hell, I will find it to work reliably there as well. And I'm going to load it to the full 60 from here on out.
I hope I get to eat my words.
The other, well, here's my backpack. I'm going to throw a 45 round longer mag in my backpack, because at Hard as Hell I'll be shooting Trooper armored, which means everything I want to use I have to carry. I'm going to stick an empty 45 in my day pack, and when that thing, I shouldn't say when or if there's a problem, I'm going to switch out to that. All right. Okay, so I have a backup plan. That's the worst, and I think what I'm going to try to do is mentally think to myself, if this fails once, it's out, done.
Left hole first.
Good job.
Nice run.